Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knights of the Pageless Library. I am Ryan Knight, and I am joined, as always, by my brother Bo Knight. And today, we're going to be taking a look at The Way of Kings, written by Brandon Sanderson and narrated by Kate Reading and Michael Kramer.
Yeah, and this is book 1 of the Stormlight Archives, and this is a big long boy.
Yes, it is. 45 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive tome in my opinion. And we're going to be doing something different with this one. So this is just going to be a review coming from us on this one. So like if you're coming here for the breakdown, that's really not going to be here in this episode. But we're going to do a special like book club where once a month we'll sit down and we'll break the story down. We're going to break it up into 4 parts and we're going to go about 10 hours a piece. So if you wanted to like if our recommendations intrigue you enough and you want to listen to this, like get about 10 hours in and then you can come back and listen to what we have to say about it. Does that sound right, Ryan?
Yeah. And if anybody thinks that's a great idea, you think that's a terrible idea, you have anything to say about The Way of Kings or anything like that, please feel free to email us, kotpl.pod@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all those crazy places.
We're on like something called BitChute, right?
Yeah, I got BitChute. I got the
coffee thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we mentioned this on our Lost episode.
Oh yeah, please don't drag me through the mud too much.
I signed up for this thing called Buy Me a Coffee, and it's a way if you felt like our content was worthy of your hard-earned money. We're by no means asking for it at all, but it's just a way, the podcast that we do is free for you to listen to, but it's not necessarily free for us to make. So if you were feeling incredibly generous, there is a link to Buy Me a Coffee, and it's just a website where you can choose to donate. $3 is like the bare minimum you could do if you felt like your money was worthy of that. So it's just out there. Again, we're not like begging for it like some podcasts do.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to give us some money, like that would be an easy way to do it.
Right.
I think. I've never used the website. Maybe it's a nightmare. I don't know.
And it very well could be. Yeah. And if it's garbage, please email us and let us know.
Yeah. If it's terrible,
garbage.
Yeah, let us know and we'll take it off of there.
Yeah, and we'll take it off and we'll stop mentioning it. We'll pretend we never had it.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean that didn't happen?
So yeah, The Way of Kings. This book came out in 2010.
Yep.
And the audio that we listened to through Audible was also produced in 2010 by Macmillan Audio.
And I want to also mention too that this is kind of a rare audiobook as it comes with a PDF of like all the maps and drawings that would be in the normal book too. If you thought that was something you're like, I love the maps and stuff like that, and because there are lots of drawings that come up too, it comes with a file that you can look through those things too.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No. Great. Now I want to look at those because I'm interested in that stuff. See, we're learning together.
Yeah, which to me is definitely a very rare thing, but also a very welcome thing because I do think that's something you miss out on in the audio format, and that's something I love is like getting like a kind of a lay of the land and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, since I can't read very well, I love looking at pictures.
Yeah, so. I mean, pictures are my bread and butter. So, and this book is also kind of unique to me. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Ryan. How did you feel about the 2 narrators? And not necessarily their performances, but how did you feel about how it's kind of split up between them?
I actually really appreciated it in this book. I thought it's well choreographed because, and now it's just because it's Kate Reading, a female, and Michael Kramer a male doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, they're only going to act out male and female characters. They are, in this book, centered around, most of their chapters, like Michael Kramer's chapters, are centered around a male character. Kate Reading's are centered around a female character. But they don't only do those. Like, it's not them having a conversation back and forth. So
Right.
Michael Kramer will read his parts. That might be maybe 1 or 2 chapters in a row. And then Kate Reading will come in and read her part, maybe 1 or 2 chapters in a row. And I actually thought it's very elegantly done in this book.
Mhm.
It's unique. I don't know if I can think of another book off the top of my head that has done something like this, but it was kind of a welcome change.
The third Area X book, Authority, splits it up like that. It has
Yes,
Bronson
you're
Pinchot
right.
does part of it, and then I
You are
can't
right.
remember her name, but she does another part. Actually, there's 3 narrators in that book.
3 characters. You're right. You're right.
But that's
I
the
feel
only
like-
other case I can think of.
And I feel like that maybe that performance just doesn't stand out quite as much to me
Well,
as this does.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as well done there as it is here, because I think this is really well done, because there are so many characters, and it's especially in a book like this big and this grand and like spanning like a whole world. I feel like it helps to kind of have those distinctions, like, okay, we're in this part of the world now,
Mhm.
and we're talking about these people. Like for me, I found that very, very helpful, because especially like in like the Way of Kings, like this world is so foreign to ours,
Right.
that it's hard to get a lot of analogs, of like, oh, okay, like this is like that, and
Yeah.
and so like I found the splitting of the narration kind of help me keep my my train of thought of like, okay, this is where we are, this is what's happening.
Right.
I thought it helped a lot for the clarity, for me at least.
I think it keeps it interesting too. I mean, if you had to listen to both of these people are great. Kate Reading and Michael
Yeah, I
Kramer
think-
are very, very good narrators.
Yeah,
But-
I think Michael Kramer is probably like one of my favorites now,
Right.
because he's
sure.
fantastic.
Yeah, I would put him up there as well. I would even put Kate Reading up there as
Yeah,
well, as far as female
I
narrators
think
go.
she might be my favorite female, because she's fantastic in this.
Yes, very, very good. This also helps though, because while both of these narrators are very, very good narrators, to be honest, if I had to listen to one of them talk for 45 hours, it might get a little dull. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is kind of refreshing to hear the other person.
Yeah, it helps a lot because it breaks that up. Whereas, and I'm not saying either one of these people have a monotone narration style, but even, I mean, if you had to listen to Michael Kramer straight for 45 hours, it might change the way you hear the story. You know what I mean? I think this is a perfect book for this to be done on as well, where they switch back and forth between narrators.
Okay. So I guess this kind of, I guess I kind of already mentioned this, but do you think this is a kind of an easy story to follow? Is this like easy listening?
After a little while, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it took me a while to not necessarily get into this story, but it took me a while to fully kind of, oh, okay, now I remember who this person is and what their title is and why we're talking about them, or I remember what this location is, or it takes a minute though to fully kind of step into this world, because like you said, it is so foreign as far as being like a high fantasy story goes. I mean, basically the similarities are that there are humans that are people like me and you, and they use the same cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, that we do, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I know somebody's like, well, I'm sure there are trees. No, there really aren't. It's super foreign.
Right.
And like, without really getting into it, I feel like something I like about this story is like, you can't really like map a place onto like, like its Earth counterpart. Does that make sense? Like, you can't,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's very few analogs, like as
Yeah.
far as, oh, he's probably talking about the United States and Canada.
yeah, or
No.
like, or he's talking about like the Middle East and like, or
Right.
that stuff. Like, there are no analogs like that, and I really like that because it all feels so fresh to me.
Sure.
It feels like I'm discovering a new world instead of kind of like, you know, like brushing the dust off some thinly veiled places that already exist.
Sure. And we should mention too that this kind of sci-fi high fantasy stuff is, as far as I can tell, Brandon Sanderson's like bread and butter.
Oh, you're right. We should skip over talking about him.
I mean, this dude has tons of books, let alone just the ones in the Stormlight Archive. He also has his Mistborn series, which you said that takes place in this same world that he crafted.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, as far as I understand. I think I think it's just like a different age, like talking about a different thing.
I'd be very curious to know that. Either way, these are all high fantasy stories. And Brandon Sanderson, correct me if I'm wrong, was actually brought in to finish the Wheel of Time series. Is that right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't realize. Yeah, you're right, because it was originally written by Robert Jordan. I think that might not be correct. I'm sorry, everybody, if that's wrong.
I mean, but that's
it was started by Robert Jordan, and
right.
Bryan Sanderson came in and finished it.
Yeah, so he got to finish the Wheel of Time series, which is like that's crazy. I mean, everybody knows the Wheel of Time. You freaking read the Wheel of Time in school, I'm sure, if you're anywhere around our age. Yeah, I know we did.
I don't remember the Wheel of Time at all.
Oh, I can't say I remember a lot about it, but I mean, well, now most people probably know it because didn't Amazon pick it up? That's the Amazon series that's out now.
I will trust your word on that.
Okay. I'm getting off track anyways.
That's all good.
So you could get this book for free if you sign up for Audible. You know, we talk about this all the time. Kind of bums me out. I seen an Audible ad on something the other day. What?
Oh, just I'm seeing the real price, but go ahead.
Well, reveal that real price, because I was going to say you could get it for free if you signed up for Audible.
$63.93. $63.93.
Yeah. So it is expensive, but that's also because you're getting a incredibly long book. Again, this is a tome.
Yeah, it is. And like, to be honest, this is like right up my alley. I love long stories like this. And that's why we're taking this different approach too, because like this book took a long time to finish. I mean, it was probably like 3 days of listening. And
mainlining it.
Yeah, spoilers. This book's good.
You again though too, you're getting, not only are you getting 45 hours of content, you're getting multiple narrators. So
and the PDF file, which I feel like is a nice touch.
Right. So you're getting a lot of content here for that amount of money. I would say that's a lot. If you have, I
mean, spoilers. If you're just an Audible member, just buy a token and buy it that way. The tokens are are only like $14.99. So like, no matter what, you're not going to pay that price if you're an Audible member.
Right. Yeah. Just wait till you get your monthly token.
Yeah. Or you could just wait and then listen to this book for like 2 months. I'm sure a normal listener, this is probably going to take somebody a long time.
Let's jump back into. I mean, I would say this one is relatively easy to follow. What do you think as far as like easy listening though goes? I mean, we've kind of already talked about it.
Once you get like the definitions down and kind of learn like, because I think this book does a bad job of explaining like terms and titles.
Sure.
Because it's kind of hard to understand, like, you know, like what brightness means, or like High Lord or High Prince, like those titles are hard to like differentiate, like what separates people for me, and like what Spren are, and like Shard Blades, and like all those things. Like the explanation of them is really slow, but once you get all the definitions down, I feel like it goes down really smooth.
I would agree with that statement. And this one thing I appreciate though about this book is while these things are not what we experience every day, you're quickly able to kind of link them to something, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't fall into that kind of fantasy or sci-fi like word salad type of stuff where they just keep repeating something, and I even by the end of the book, I'm like, I still have no idea what that is because they've never taken the time to give me a good enough definition of it.
Yeah.
This book, through the character's eyes, gives you a definition of each thing they are kind of talking about. Like the
Yeah.
Spren. Spren was one of the first one when they talk, the very first time they talk about it, I'm pretty sure it's when he talks about, at least the first time I really clicked with me is when they're in like a battlefield scene and these like pain Spren are wriggling up out of the ground. And I was like, what the fuck is a
you're
Spren?
like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. But it actually is a very good way of kind of show don't tell. Instead of like,
I agree with that entirely.
yeah, because instead of being like straight up, oh, they saw the Spren. Spren, just so you know, are blah blah blah. Like that would be a terrible way to do that. So allowing you to kind of organically learn what these things are, because again, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, and I've said this before, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for our main characters to explain to each other what Spren are, because they already
because it's just
know.
part of the world.
Exactly. They already
that would be
know.
like you stopping your friend and be like, yo, okay, so this is a tree right here.
Yeah, and it would become blatantly obvious. And now if you're listening to our podcast, you'll catch on to this stuff more often, because I do far more often now when I watch movies and stuff.
Yeah, me too. You exposition that doesn't belong.
Yeah, you catch on to these lines and you're like, they are only doing that because they couldn't come up with a better way to explain it without having the characters explain it to each other.
They didn't have a good diegetic reason to tell you that.
Right. And you'll hear that stuff more often now if you really think about it.
Yeah, sometimes it totally kills the mood for me.
Right. Movies are far more egregious about it usually too than books. Books are usually really good about it, letting you kind of figure out the things as the story goes. But now you'll realize, you'll watch a movie and you'll be like, why would these two characters explain that? Like, why would they say, why don't you tell me the story about such and such again?
Yeah.
Like, you're only doing that to explain
My family
it to the
has
audience.
a saying, let me talk for 30 uninterrupted seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, let me explain everything to you in one dump because we couldn't figure out.
My grandfather always used to say.
And it's this huge long.
Yeah,
it's like 2 paragraphs.
Super long. Yeah, like, man, your grandpa was an asshole.
All right. Moving on. So, all right, we're at the recommendation portion of our podcast. If it's not abundantly clear yet, why don't you go ahead and give me your recommendation?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of spoiled it already. Full disclaimer, I am completely caught up on this series. I've listened to every single book.
Wow.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And I feel like this length of book with this much detail and this rich of a world really scratches an itch for me that does not get scratched very often. And I found maybe the first 10 hours of this book are a little slow. And I think the beginning is it's kind of confusing the way that it frames things. But as the book starts to come to a close, I feel like it makes sense why he framed it the way he did to begin with.
Okay.
I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I really like this one, and I feel like this is an easy recommend from me, especially if you like Game of Thrones or Tolkien's writings, those kind of things, and you are having a hard and you love long books and you're looking for your next obsession. I feel like this is probably a good one.
Yeah, especially if you enjoy high fantasy stuff. This is like a world building masterclass too.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know of another way to say it. I honestly feel I think too that this, for me, as far as fantasy stuff goes, I think this book puts Game of Thrones to shame, to be honest.
Really?
For the sole purpose that this is a 100% unique world. There are concepts here that I hadn't heard of anywhere else. The Stormlight type stuff, down to all of these small things. Now, it might not be unique and somebody could say, oh, well, he cherry picked this from here and here, blah, blah, blah. To me, though, Game of Thrones is essentially people and dragons. We've heard those stories before, right?
Right.
this is not that. You haven't heard another story that hits on a lot of these same things.
Yeah, that is very true.
I mean, I feel like this is probably what people back when like Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, you know, or The Lord of the Rings, the first time they heard it, it would be kind of like this. Like nobody was you weren't hearing these things at that time. And I honestly feel like this is a modern day
That is such a
kind of
good way to
callback.
put it. I feel like that is a really good way to put it.
It's how it felt to me. It hooked me in because I was like, okay, I can get behind this. All these unique concepts that this guy clearly had to take some time and effort into, because he didn't just throw these things out there like the Spren. He didn't just throw this thing out there like, ho, yeah, and by the way, we got these things over here.
No, they serve a
No.
purpose.
Yeah, and they are integrated
Yeah.
into the world. Like that's why I say I feel like this is a world building masterclass essentially.
Well, and something you said to me that was off mic is that this book has a lot of unique names that you've never heard before.
Mhm. Yes.
And I feel like that is also a very good point. It's like this world feels very apart from ours.
Right. Again, the similarities you can draw between it are that there is humans. They are on a planet of some sort, as far as you could tell.
Dude, it could be flat. I don't know.
Well, again, they use
like our Earth.
Cardinal directions. Oh, dude. Oh, okay. I know what this is. So we live on the flat Earth, right?
Okay.
They live on the underneath side of the,
The
flat
Underdark?
Yeah, they're on the other side of the flat Earth. Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, they're on the
I
other side
see
of the
what you're
disc.
doing, Brandon Sanderson.
This is a true story.
Yeah, you've been there. We get it now.
Yeah.
I see. This is all just what he remembers from being there. But no, my recommendation to, again, if you like fantasy stuff, low or high fantasy, I mean, this is going to scratch those itches for you, and it's going to give you that amount of content, because how many books like this do you listen to where it ends after 10 hours and you're like, God damn it, and the other one's not out yet. I want more.
Yeah.
This book also, when it ends, I don't know how he did this. This book literally feels like it ends so that you can roll right into the next one.
Yeah.
It is not like he ended it without knowing if there was going to be a sequel or not. No. He knew this is a grand epic story that he's writing.
Yeah,
you can feel that.
I want to say there's supposed to be 5 books, and the 5th book is the next one coming out.
Interesting. So is this is kind of off topic, but is this book that he just released, this Dawn Shard book? Oh, okay, I see what it says.
It's like a supplemental.
It says book 3.5. Okay.
I think it's like about, I haven't listened to any of those, because I think there's another one that's like Edge Dancer or something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple that are in between 0.5 books. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're about like our main cast.
Oh,
I think they're about they're like kind of like side story. I think that might not be true, and somebody's yelling at me right now, but as far as I understand, I feel like they are about different people in the world, like while these things that are happening, I think.
Okay. I guess I didn't read that it's a 0.5 of the Stormlight Archive. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like they're just okay, this one says Lopin's in it.
See, so I mean, this again, he knew he was going to be writing this grand epic tale.
Yeah.
And I would say that in a way, this is, I mean, it's not a fully fair comparison, but when most people think of Tolkien, right? You think of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. But the thing is there's a reason YouTube channels and things exist solely dedicated to Tolkien lore, because Tolkien's world, the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, are a snapshot in time of things that were happening in this grand. He built this entire world to tell these stories in. That's where the Silmarillion comes from, is the creation of his world.
Not to mention he wrote his own language.
That's what I mean. And I feel like this book is on par with something like that, as far as the amount of time and dedication and lore and things like that, history that that Brandon Sanderson put into this. I mean, and I know at this point I'm just gushing, but you just don't. I feel like you just don't come across these all that often.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. I feel like this is very special.
Right. And I'm not, when I say that I think this puts Game of Thrones to shame, I mean, I like Game of Thrones and I was engaged in Game of Thrones. You know, I like those books. I like that they are long, epic stories and fantasies. To me, this was just on a different level and it scratched a much different itch for me too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't say I like this more than Game of Thrones. I feel like it's different. This definitely isn't as bleak.
They exactly. They are different. And something this is not a Game of Thrones as far as you don't necessarily have to be worried that your main character is going to get their head chopped off. Spoilers if you haven't listened to Game of Thrones.
The one guy's like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? The book's only been out for 20 years. What the hell, man?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree that that is one thing that Game of Thrones, I feel like that's how it stands apart for me, is when I listen to those stories, I don't know if the character I'm following is safe or not. That's one thing I feel like George R.R. Martin set himself apart with. Whereas in this book, I'm not going to say that it can't do that, because again, I've only listened to the first one and I've listened to about 3/4 of the second one. But up to this point, it's very clear that, yeah, maybe your main character is not going to suffer a, like, oh man, I just spent all this time getting to know this character, and then the author's like, and he's dead. Like,
Yeah.
I just spent all this time and, investing my time and effort into writing him, and now I'm going to kill him. Like,
and he's dead.
Yeah. And it's gone. But no, I honestly think, and if it wasn't apparent that we say we're going to do a book club about this, that probably tells you that it's worth putting the time and effort in, because obviously if it was terrible, we wouldn't dedicate a couple months of our time to
true.
it. So spoilery on that, obviously, but no, I seriously think this is something special for most people. I honestly feel like most people could get into this as well. Unless you just absolutely don't listen to fantasy stuff at all, then maybe.
Yeah, it's surprising the amount of people I find that are like that.
Yeah, I mean, and more power to you. If you enjoy listening to nonfiction and stuff like that, more power to you. But if you enjoy fiction, fantasy stories, I feel like you would find something to like about this.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
One thing I think this book does well too is the action sequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man,
they feel tense. I mean,
there is one specific scene that like I can like hear the doom music kick in, and like it gets so intense to me.
Right. Yeah, there's the action scenes in this book compared to a lot of books are very well written in terms of choreographed. He's explaining to you exactly how this person feels while they're doing this, the struggles they're going through while they're fighting. Like it's very impressive the amount of detail he puts into those things, especially since some books just gloss over that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, King Arthur left a bad taste in your mouth.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then they fought for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And while they were on their way back to camp, like, wait, what? Like, no, I want to hear about the fight.
Hang on, 45 minutes? I don't even get to hear about it?
Yeah. No, this obviously does a much, much better job than that book did.
So yeah, I mean, that's like 2 heavy recommendations from us. Yeah, stick around for the book club.
Yes, please do. Yeah. And again, thank you everybody for listening. If you have anything to say about this or anything else in general, please feel free to email us, kotpl.pod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, thank yous. I think we're good.
Yeah. So with that, thank you guys all for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.